Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathiran amma ba'd. Khair inshallah. Let's get started with tonight's Q&A marathon. Bi'idhnillah. If there are any questions. Fadal akhi.
In your opinion, or in your research of the Kutub al-Sitta, the authors of Kutub al-Sitta, which author was the greatest faqih?
Question says, in your opinion, out of the authors of Kutub al-Sitta, which one was the greatest faqih? That's a good question. But at the same time, what you know about me, I would consider it to be a very bad question. You already know who I'm biased towards. Of course. No question about that. Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah. No doubt about that. Wallahu alam. Of course, everyone has their virtue. Imam Abu Dawud's book is the superstore for the faqih. But it's nothing like Imam al-Bukhari's order, his arrangement, his extractions is incomparable, yani. Mustahid for you to even come close. Wallahu alam. Tayyib. Shall we wait? See what happens. Maybe the people didn't get the notification. Many people that complain about that sometime.
Rishal and Ishlan UK, Assalamu alaikum Sheikh. What's the ruling on eating nutmeg?
Read the question, please.
NH London UK, what is the ruling on eating nutmeg?
Tayyib. Ruling on eating nutmeg. The general answer is that it's permissible. Nutmeg itself is not necessarily an intoxicant. If it's used in a cake or some type of baking product, there's nothing wrong with it, inshallah ta'ala. Bidnillah.
Initials DD, San Antonio, Texas. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on praying at the masjid with gaps between the men 6 feet? Is it better to pray the fard prayer at home since they are not standing next to one another?
Question regarding using or practicing social distancing at the masjid, at the mosque. What is the ruling on praying with people between, or with a gap between 6 feet, so on and so on and so forth? Is it better to pray at home? I feel that if there's a 6 foot gap, which is the height of a man, some cultures and races, an average man, some cultures and races that's considered to be a tall man, 6 feet between each congregant. There lies no doubt that is a huge gap. It's a very large gap. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded us to fill in the gaps because he saw the shaitan entering into the furaj, the sufuf, ka'annaha al-hadaf, as if they're small little black sheep. So it's a little small tiny animal. So what would the shaitan be like if there was a 6 foot gaping hole between one man and the next? So for sure that's clearly problematic. The least that we can say that's clearly problematic, let alone impermissible and haram. As far as necessity, is it a necessity then I think that you're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. The rock will be not making the congregational prayer, which is beloved to Allah, according to the correct view, is mandatory with its conditions. And the hard place would be the instructions of the CDC or the WHO or your local health centers, etc., telling you that you have to stay 6 feet away from a person. 6 feet away from a person. If not, the coronavirus will jump on you and it will bite you. It will get you. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So you're going to have to use some of your own discretion. What's best? Stay home, pray by myself, or go to the masjid and have 6 feet between me and my fellow brother. And of course, there's not but so many people that can come into the masjid. 3 people, 10 people, so on and so forth. So if it's a necessity, and if it's proven, and if that's what you have to do, then you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're going to have to use some of your own discretion. If you can pray at home, and there are 2 people at home, 3 people at home, that you can stand next to, your husband, your wife, your children, and you don't have to distance yourself from them, then that's one thing. Going to the masjid, establishing the masjid, the purpose of establishing the jama'ah, so on and so forth, you have an excuse to stay home if you're afraid and scared that you're going to get sick or going to give the virus to someone else. So, in brief, I think that the ruling could go in either of the 2 directions. Somebody may say, stay at home if the coronavirus is that dangerous. If you have to stand 6 feet away from your brother in a prayer without it jumping on you, then stay home. And others may say, rather, it's best to do what we can, stay 6 feet away from the brother in the row instead of abandoning the jama'ah or abandoning the Jumu'ah. It can go either way. It can go either way. Wallahu alam.
Initials O, I, London, UK. Initials KB. Okay, initials JF, Boston, Massachusetts. Is this statement attributed to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu kufr from the kufr authentic?
Tayyip. Question is regarding the statement of Abdullah ibn Abbas concerning the verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Whoever does not rule with what Allah has sent down, then they are the kafirun. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu is quoted to have said, kufrun duna kufrun. It is lesser kufr, is that authentic, etc. Many of the ulama of Islam, the great researchers, bahithin and mukharrijin, they hold the view that the athar is authentic. قَدْ ثَبَتَ وَصَحَّ عَنْ Ibn Abbas. It is authentically attributed to him. And others, they may have another opinion or another view, and they may say that it isn't attributed to him, it is not authentic. I don't think it makes a huge difference, my humble opinion. And that is because if Ibn Abbas didn't say that, then there are many other of the Salaf who did. In the tafsir of Ibn Jarir al-Tabari and others, you'll find many, a plethora of athar of the Salaf who spoke about those ayat. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, etc. So it's not just Ibn Abbas who spoke about that ayah. That's number one. Number two is the concept of, if Ibn Abbas didn't say that, and that's not what that verse means, then there lies no doubt there are many other texts in the Quran and the Sunnah that prove that there is a thing called kufrun duna kufr. There is major and minor kufr. And there are certain acts that are given the title kufrun, and it's not actual kufr. The Prophet ﷺ says, Sibabul Muslimi fusuq wa qitaluhu kufrun. Clearly. And there are other ayat with regards to attributing yourself to other than your father, kufr ni'mah, takfurna al-ashir, women being ungrateful to their husbands. So the concept of minor and major kufr isn't foreign and it isn't strange. As far as the ruling with what other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, then there lies no doubt. There are different types, there are different levels, and there are different situations. For sure it's haram, no doubt about that. For sure it's impermissible, there's no doubt about that. For sure it's a major sin, there's no doubt about that. Is it major kufr? Is it minor kufr? That is the argument and that is the discussion. I don't think, and Allah knows best, that Abdullah ibn Abbas, whether you take the view that it's authentic or it's not authentic, I don't think that Ibn Abbas condoned and allowed and accepted many systems of government today, many leaders today kings, presidents, prime ministers, whatever names that they have and they're called, and he would hesitate to say that that's kufr akbar. And maybe, Allahu alam, maybe he may even say that the one who says this, or the one who does this, or switches this, or changes that, or adds this, and takes this from Sharia, no doubt is a kafir murtad. So I don't think that Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma would condone many things that people call today government, Muslim government or Islamic government, whether he said that or not. So I don't think that the niza' has to be that strong on hal thabata am lam yathbut, because we have other external sources that prove that it could be major kufr, and there are certain acts and statements which are not major kufr, but the Quran and Sunnah call them kufrun. Okay? Let alone the fact that there lies no doubt the system of many governments today, some may even say most, Allahu alam. If you look at it, if you read it, if you actually read what they're saying, you can clearly see how they violated the Sharia, exchanged the Sharia, removed the Sharia, and have done so many different crimes to appease the non-Muslims and to please the non-Muslims. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Wallahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum. Initials WW, Phoenix, Arizona.
Last but not least, very important advice is that I think that there needs to be a difference made between a leader being a kafir and an apostate and revolting against that leader and removing that leader. And I don't think that there's talazum between the two. I do not think that there's talazum between the two. So let's say we live in a country, a Middle Eastern country, or North African country, or Far Eastern country, Indochina, whatever, and the leader claims to be a Muslim. And the scholars of my country, or I myself am a scholar, or you're a scholar, we sit down and we say, this leader, according to Quran and Sunnah, has left Islam. Whether it's an issue of ijtihad among the scholars of that country, the tulab al-ilm, who are qualified for that, or it's something which they unanimously agree upon. This leader is not a Muslim. He's a murtad, waliyadu billah, or she's a murtadda. Crystal clear. That does not mean, nor does that necessitate, that we should go after that person and remove them and kick them out of office if we are extremely ill prepared to do so. And there's going to be a great deal of bloodshed, not a few casualties, people dying. That's the nature of revolution, the nature of war, the nature of fighting. But we're talking about it's going to be a bloodbath, a slaughter. We are totally ill prepared. Even politically, we're ill prepared to remove and exchange that leader. That's a difference. Also, the concept of the fitna that's going to happen by declaring that person a kafir and saying that their blood is lawful and they have to be removed from office, versus a Muslim saying, I'm not following that leader. I live in this country. The political nature of the country is in chaos. It has been in chaos for 20 years. But what's going to happen when we publicly say this person's a kafir, they're not a Muslim? What the iron fist is going to come down upon who? The people of sin? The people who smoke and drink and don't wear hijab? Or the people of religion, of deen, of sunnah? What masjids will be shut down first? What libraries will be seized first? Who will be snatched and thrown into prison and whipped and electrocuted first? So you have to be mindful of, even if the leader is a kafir and a murtad, you have to be mindful of the regulations of removing that person. You're talking about, first and foremost, calling them a non-Muslim, and they say that they're Muslim, regardless of who's right or who's wrong. Secondly, you're talking about removing them from power, from authority, wealth, and also revenge and retribution. You've been the leader for this country for the last 40 years. How many people have you tortured? How much money have you stolen and embezzled and put into your banks in Switzerland? You think that leader is just going to step down and walk away peacefully and easily? And she already has a violent past, a history of blood. Anyone who says something about me, bring him to the palace right now. Electrocute him in front of me. Cut this part of his body off. Do this to him. Starve him. So on and so forth. Humiliate him. This leader has a history of blood. A history for taste and thirst for blood. What do you think they're going to do? How they're going to react when you try to snatch and take them from the throne and you yourself are ill prepared? So all of those things have to be taken into consideration, guys. Very, very important. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Assalamu alaikum. Initials WW, Phoenix, Arizona. Could you expound on your last Q&A saying that Ash'ari was the correct aqidah and why?
We never said that. Please go back to the last Q&A and please listen carefully, inshallah ta'ala. We never ever said that Ash'ari Aqidah or creed is the most authentic creed. Please be careful in what you quote. Please be mindful. We never ever said that, and we seek Allah's refuge for ever saying that. Wallahu alam.
Initials HT from Seattle, Washington. Forced to continue working and only found graveyard shifts at the grocery store. Could you advise me or give me some reminders on how to work in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
With regards to a person being forced to work the graveyard shift in a grocery store, could you please give me advice on working and doing things that are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Yeah.
Maybe they're talking about, is it okay? Is it recommended? Is it a good thing to work the graveyard shift at night? In light of, or in contrast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that we made the night as a second, a means of tranquility, peace, and ease. Okay? Or a person is talking about working in a grocery store in which maybe there's some products that are haram or makruh or doubtful, etc. As far as if you're asking about a person not sleeping at night for 5 days out of the week, staying up, working, what's your advice with regards to that, and how can it be pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A Muslim should not stay up all night unless there is a reason, unless there's an excuse. And if this is the time which you work, you seek your provisions to provide yourself, provide your family, then alhamdulillah, it's not haram. It's not haram. So don't worry about that. And also find the security and the serenity at nighttime. Even if you work at night on a graveyard shift, it's still more serene than the daytime. Truck drivers, they will drive at night, and the nighttime is peaceful. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with regards to Allah Azza wa Jal shrinking the earth at night. It's quiet. It's not the same as driving during the day. It's hot during the day. It's crowded during the day. There's traffic during the day. So you can still apply those ayat. You can still apply those ayat. As far as talking about working in a supermarket, then inshallah ta'ala, try your best to avoid those haram things. Try your best to stay away from those disliked things. Try your best not to come into contact with those doubtful things, inshallah. And make dua for Allah to give you the ability to find a better job, a more wholesome job, a purer job, and a cleaner job. If that's the best job that you have, then please do not lose sight of prioritizing. Muslims must prioritize. People that say, can I drive a cab? I have to drive naked women to a club. I have to drive homosexual men to a homosexual club. I'm driving an old lady to church on Sunday morning. I'm driving this person here, this person there. This blind person has a dog. This one has a little cute poodle dog in a little thingy, a carrier. I don't want that dog in my car, so on and so forth. You got to prioritize. You have the freedom to make salah. You have the freedom to pray Jummah. You have the freedom that you don't have to shave your beard. You don't have to shake a woman's hand. You're not dealing with khamr, so on and so forth. You have to prioritize. You work in an insurance company. You have to prioritize. You make money. You do this. You can do this. Versus you working in this place in which you have to shave your beard. And which you listen to music all day. In which. So of course, all of these different doubtful, bad things, dislike things, you should stay away from. But everyone doesn't have that convenience. I don't have no super big degree. I'm not a fortunate, I don't have no ilm, I don't have no money. I'm a everyday working Muslim. And this is the best and most halal job I have, working in a construction company. And there are people who smoke cigarettes on the side. They watch this on the side. They have some pornographic magazines on the side. They drink. I'm not involved in that. Or I work as a carpenter and the place is going to be a bar, methanin. Or it's going to be something else that's haram and displeasing to Allah. You got to prioritize, guys. You have to be mindful. You have to prioritize. Wallahu alam.
Initial WI, Toronto, Canada. If the Imam is praying fast, are we obligated to follow him, or do we pray alone?
Or do we pray what?
Alone.
If the Imam is praying fast, are we obligated to follow him, or do we pray alone? It depends what you mean by fast. Is he praying at a speed that is allowing him to perform the bare necessities of the prayer? He's praying at the speed which is condoned by a traditional school, a madhab, or he's praying in a manner in which he infringes upon the basics of the prayer, the necessities of the prayer. And no alim, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, Malik, Ahmed, no alim said that you can pray like that. It depends. If he's violating, and if he's praying in a manner that is not condoned by any traditional madhab, don't pray behind that person, and also give them advice. As far as if he's the standard imam, and the prayer is a bit faster than you would like, or you don't feel it's enough khushu', and he's following the athar that he believes is correct, and that's your imam, then follow behind him and also give him advice. that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to take it slow sometimes, is to be easy. Hatta ta'tadila, the Prophet ﷺ says. Hatta tatma'inna, until you're still, until you're tranquil, until you're standing up straight. وهكذا. Wallahu alam.
Initials MJ, Sydney, Australia. Is it permissible to use after pay where there is a late fee for missed payments but no interest?
Repeat the question, please.
Is it permissible to use after pay where there is a late fee for missed payments but there is no interest?
I'm unfamiliar with afterpay. I'm unfamiliar with that. If you can explain to us what that is, inshallah, I'll be very grateful. Wallahu alam.
Initials NA, London, UK. Is it permissible to watch YouTube videos, documentaries, etc., where there is music in the background? This music is merely in the background and it can't be skipped.
And the question is from where?
London, UK.
Questions from London with regards to watching a YouTube documentary. And in the YouTube documentary, there's music in the background. The music is only in the background. It cannot be skipped, so on and so forth. The best thing to do is to avoid it. You can't go long. You can't lose. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, "Da' ma yuribuka." Leave off that which causes you to have doubt. As far as if you feel that the documentary is very beneficial, very important, and it's better than you watching other things, listening to other things, and the music is only in the background, and you're not there for the music, perhaps it's okay. Perhaps. Wallahu alam.
Initials FN, Arlington, Virginia. What exactly is considered backbiting? If I talk about someone with someone else, and that person wouldn't like to hear what I say, but I have no malice towards them, is that okay?
The Prophet ﷺ says, "Dhikruka akhaka bima yakrah," mentioning your brother in a manner in which he is not pleased. Best. Period. If it's a necessity, different story. If it's a means, he's an open public center, different story. The different places in which it's permissible to backbite a Muslim and to violate a Muslim's honor, which are specific necessities. If that's not the case, then don't talk about your brother in a manner that he doesn't like, period. Whether you think it's okay, I didn't mean anything bad, I didn't have a period. Best. Dhikruka akhaka bima yakrah. He doesn't like it, don't mention it behind his back. Wallahu alam.
Initial RA, Richmond, California. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on praying Ishraq? How long do we have to wait until the sunrise? I love you for the sake of Allah.
Repeat the question from the beginning, please.
Initials RA, Richmond, California. Assalamu alaikum. What's the ruling on praying Ishraq? How long do we have to wait?
Questions from Richmond, California. The ruling on praying al-Ishraq. How long do we wait after sunrise, etc. Salat al-Duha is the best name for it, inshallah ta'ala. Salat al-Duha, inshallah ta'ala. Duha, al-Awabin, etc. You wait, inshallah ta'ala, 15 to 20 minutes after sunrise, similar to the time of Salat al-Eid, bi'idhnillah. Wallahu alam. Ahabbaka alladhi ahbabtani lahu. Ameen. Please.
Initials NEH, Rotterdam, Holland. Assalamu alaikum. Yesterday I asked about the two hadith and I want to specify. I meant the hadith that the Rasul said, I leave two things, my Ahlul Bayt and Quran. But the other version says Quran and Sunnah. Why are both sahih? Didn't he only say one of the two?
Tayyib. Jazakumullah khairan. Follow-up question from yesterday from Holland with regards to the Prophet ﷺ saying, I leave two things behind. In tamassaktum bihi lan tudillu. You'll never go astray if you hold fast to them. Okay? One being the Quran and Ahlul Bayt wa Ahlul Bayti. And second is the Book of Allah and my Sunnah. Are they both authentic? How can they both be authentic? So on and so forth. Tayyib. To simplify things, hadith is a science. It's a world. It's a field. And there are several different versions of one hadith. Let alone the fact that there are several different hadiths that are separate hadiths. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke about the same thing more than once. And there are other times in which he speaks about two things and it's only half of the same thing in the same hadith. So here he talks about Quran, and 10 different hadiths. They're separate hadiths. 10 different stories. Or it's one story, but it's narrated by 10 companions. And every companion has 3 students, 5 students, 10 students, 20 students. An example of this is the hadith of Jibreel. The famous version is Umar radiallahu anhu, narrated by his son, Ibn Umar. But there are other companions who narrate the hadith of Jibreel, such as Abu Hurairah. And Abu Hurairah's hadith is a little different. It was the same story. Jibreel he went there, all right, dressed like that one time. But there were other companions sitting with the Prophet ﷺ. So hadith science, there are different versions of one hadith. Point number one. Also, there are different hadiths in which the Prophet repeats and reiterates the same lesson because of its importance. And there are hadiths in which he may talk about 3 things, 2 things, 5 things. In one version, he only spoke on 3. And the last 2 are interchangeable. This one here says Quran, hadith, kada, and this one, the other 2 are different. Alright? So there lies no doubt those hadiths regarding the Prophet ﷺ telling people to hold fast to the Quran and to respect his Ahlul Bayt. And to look after his Ahlul Bayt and not to disrespect them. There's no doubt about that. And the other hadith which the Prophet ﷺ told us about, the Sunnah, his way. Okay? What I have been given, what to hold fast to, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي, so on and so forth. Clear? Inshallah? So there is no discrepancy of how they both can be authentic. And this has nothing to do with each isnad. And how is this one authentic or not? The sheer fact of the question is just because there's similarity in 2 different reports doesn't mean that there's what? Some type of contradiction or objection. That's the point that I'm trying to get across. Wallahu alam.
Initials IA, Manchester, UK. What is the ruling of Forex trading? Is it a form of gambling?
Allahu alam. These issues have been discussed, have been researched. Forex trading, many Muslims, they want to know about these things. It's best to avoid and stay away from unless you know everything transparently. It's best to stay away from those things. Is it absolutely haram in every aspect of Forex trading? I'm not going to say that. Not every single aspect. But many things of the financial world and virtual trading, there lies no doubt. You have to be mindful. That's what I'll say about that. Wallahu alam.
Initials AG, London, UK. How can we differentiate between ihsan and iman?
How can we differentiate between ihsan and iman? Sometimes they may overlap. And sometimes they're different. What's important is the highest manifestation of your belief in Allah is to worship Allah as if you see Him. To run to Allah. And to run from Allah as well. Run to Allah. And run from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You worship Allah as if you see Him. You have that strength of yaqeen. And if you can't get to that level, then know for sure that He watches you and run from Him, from His punishment. And that is also a manifestation of iman. And the muhsin is going to be a mu'min. وهكذا. And there are other levels in which there is a mu'min who isn't on a level of ihsan. What's important is just for you to strive for ihsan. Strive for it. How to differentiate between this and that is not necessarily your job or your mission. والله أعلم. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد